Hudson, you here? I'm here. Hudson Ford's Dealership News Midday Report. Thanks, Hudson. So you can check it out. It's fun. If you,
I'm totally going
for
to.
those of you from Canada,
Yep.
I lifted that completely from CKLW, which was out of Windsor. It was a 50,000 watt blowtorch. CKLW, much more music. It was the Drake formula during when AM was the TNA of radio. And I lifted it from them. Anyway, a homage to our Canadian friends.
This is the Strategy with Jason podcast with your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It's Jason Harris here with Digital Dealership Solutions. Hey, thanks for joining me on another episode of Strategy with Jason. Today, guys, we're in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it is stinking hot here. Very hot, very sticky. But we're hanging out right now at the Rockstar Automotive Conference, and I had to grab Kelly
Kleinman.
Thank you. Sorry, I apologize. Kelly Kleinman, Content Director with Dealership News. Got to learn a little bit about what they're doing over there. I'm very excited about that. I think any opportunity for any company out there to help educate the dealership in the usage of analytics and to better their processes and their systems is just phenomenal. So I wanted to grab you for a few minutes. And for everyone out there that don't know about Dealership News, can you kind of give me that 2-minute origin story, kind of how it got started and what direction you guys are taking with it?
That's a great question because it's the first question that I ask all of my guests as well. We're an intellectual resource for car dealers, basically decision makers, and of course we add a lot of value to vendors as well. But primarily, it's a best practices situation. What's working for this dealership that every dealership should know about, and so that's the kind of information we convey. But we try to entertain. We're not stodgy, we're not boring. I'm not going to say that some of the other published publications are but they are. So we have the midday report, we have the national dealership standings, so everyone could see who their competitor or how their competitors are performing and who their competitors are from across a broad spectrum of other brands. So if I'm a Honda dealer and I want to see how the Toyota guy is doing down the road, and I'm in the top 32 markets in the United States, I can jump on Dealership News and find out on a monthly basis.
Yep, and I think that's so important of what we're doing with the content and the information that's at our hands. Unfortunately, in a lot of the meetings that I'm in, is I hear these horrible words of I think or I feel something. And every time I hear those, I start to cringe because it's never based on data.
Right,
So
yeah.
What kind of advice can you give out there to dealerships and really how they can use your content to kind of help them make some of their decisions around their processes and marketing efforts?
Well, the numbers don't lie, and there's certain things that are working for certain dealers, and there's certain things that aren't. And, marketing is all test and learn, and as soon as you get into a phase of assumption and your feeling is that, you're not dealing with the facts. So, again, data, the facts are cold. And they are measurable, and so we try to provide those for dealers, and that's basically what we're about. Your question was based on things like Google Analytics, for example. We have access to about 175 car dealers' Google Analytics. We could do a deep dive on anybody and tell you how Car Gurus is doing against Cars.com. In fact, that's coming out in our hard copy edition, which will be coming out, I believe, at the end of June. We keep pushing it a little bit, but you'll be able to see, how those guys function against one another. And we were able to get deeper into it than anybody else. Nobody else does that, really.
No.
Dealership News gets in there and they show what's working. Who's the best CRM, or who's a good CRM? All CRMs aren't good for everybody.
Sure.
Which vendors, which F&I software is best. Do we go to Market Scan? Well, I'm a Market Scan fan, so I'll just leave it at that. I like Market Scan. We'll be doing a little bit of work with them. And then there's the whole thing about case studies. What you need to be able to prove. It's not just through reviews, because reviews are important, but now you've got review software that generates reviews that you don't know if they're 100% legitimate. You don't know if they're burying the bad reviews and just pushing to publish the good reviews. So you need case studies, and that's something that we've got coming up called the Dealership News Case Study Corner, which we will be unveiling in the next 30 to 45 days, which I think is going to be very exciting, and another reason why we have people coming to our site in the volume that they are, so you could see what is working, what is factual, what the conversion rates are, what the bounce rates are, what the time on site, the site duration is, all the real important stuff. you can even measure, social media with some of these metrics. Granted, that's a little bit less specific than a good hard Google, analysis, as far as metrics are concerned. But we do offer a lot of that, and that's really how dealers really need to base their strategic decision making.
Oh my gosh, what a breath of fresh air. I'm telling you, it really is. I can't tell you how many times, I've seen so much automotive content out there that's not data or analytic driven. And, it sounds what your guys' goal and your objective is to not only develop out content that educates and entertains the dealerships, but is truly driven behind real analytics. Something dealership can actually take back and execute on. Now, when it comes to data, there's still a lot of dealerships out there that are not 100% sure. There's so many analytics. And the industry is changing so fast. Our processes are changing so fast. The consumer's needs are changing so fast. If there were 3 pieces of analytics that you would really recommend a dealership that could focus on right now over the next 6 months that could really bring them some ROI, what would you recommend?
More than anything, I would set up goals probably in my Google Analytics, and they would be conversion goals. And obviously, sales is the number one, right? That's the number one conversion goal. I would take a look at, aside from the Google Analytics, I would take a look at ROs. I would take a look at, if we're going to stay on the website, I would take a look at site visits, duration, and VDP views. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the lot links thing, right? VDP views.
Yes.
And then there's a company called Dealer Leads out there which focuses on quality site visits, which it's basically sending organic first-generation traffic to a website, and we've seen some terrific conversion rates with those folks. So I guess if I was going to, obviously sales, it's always going to be sales.
Sure.
It would be, your ROs, your repair orders, and then it would be quality traffic to a website. That's I think those are, and there's a variety of different metrics within that. Again, site duration, VDP views, or session duration, sessions, new sessions, as opposed to return sessions, and then of course certainly a lead form fill out and things of this nature.
And I think the key word you said there is quality traffic.
Quality traffic,
right? I think for the last 7 or 10 years, we've just been measuring just total numbers. And we really haven't been able to define what is quality, but you got to take the time to sculpt, to kind of create that out as a goal. Now, the word conversion, I know it's so loosely used in our industry.
Right.
Like, it's whatever the hell you want it to be really at the end of the day, right? And one of those conversion goals should be quality traffic. And we can set that up so you can define what was quality traffic and what wasn't quality traffic, right?
Yeah. So basically you've got, again, time spent, number of sessions, lead forms that are filled out, VDP views. Mm-hmm. Those are primarily the top 4. We did a blog recently. We had a top 6. Don't ask me to recall all of them on the spot, right. but they're maybe I truncated it down to 5 even. I'm not sure, but that's important. So you want to make sure that your website's operating at full capacity. That when people get on there, they're going places. It sort of funnels them down in the sale. But bottom line is, I come from DR, direct response. Yep. Conversion to us was sale. What did it cost to get the sale? Did you sell it? And then what was what were your COGS and what was your margin? That's it.
Yep.
For me, those are always, whenever I see conversion set up,
it's however you
it's got to
want
be
it to be
sales.
set up, yeah.
But you can with site visits. Look, if you're a third party classified site, or your main goal is to send traffic, there's certain conversion. A conversion is, we need to get them to this point. That's conversion 1. We need to get them to the second point. That's conversion 2. And that's sort of how we measure in the back end. But there's a lot more to it, But still, it's all of your marketing has to be analytics based. It's just, it'll save you a lot of money in the long run.
All of our efforts need to be analytics based, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not just going to go change a process within our dealership because we feel like it's a good idea, we think it's a good idea. Kind of going back to what you mentioned earlier, it all starts with the goal. And I think that's one of the places that we actually fail. It's, we'll do ads, we'll do marketing, all right? We'll spend a good chunk of money developing out a website. we don't know what the ultimate goal was behind it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think what it is it's more of a measurable of not just how many people and how many sessions, how much time, but it's the engagement. So I always kind of I love looking at the ad engagement, how the ad engagement can positively affect, not ad engagement, I use that loosely in the sense it could be paid, it could be also organic, right?
Yeah.
So that, you know,
right. Branded.
Exactly. So that can fit into a lot, but how are people engaging with it? And then how does that translate to website engagement? And then how can that translate out to actual sales floor engagement? Those 3 different spaces.
Yeah, some of the things that you can't measure is the quality of your branding.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about direct, organic, and paid. Well, paid is advertising, obviously, but the 3 sources of your best possible traffic clearly are organic, paid, and direct traffic. We were talking about that here in the show. So, you know, that's really what you have to focus on. There's a company out there called Clarivoy. They basically are able to assess all of the traffic that comes out, or a good deal of the traffic that comes onto your website based on CRM activity, but they can't track where the direct, organic, or paid comes from. They know it's paid.
They have some cool attribution models. They do, but they're missing that one little extra step.
I've seen their quote-unquote back end, and I hate to. It was ugly. It actually was a complicated one. Yeah. But I also realized, just looking at the numbers, that 70 to 75% of the traffic is untrackable.
Yes.
So let's attribute that to their branding efforts. Good old-fashioned branding, you know?
I know, and you know, I think branding is becoming such a hot topic, and unfortunately it should have always been a hot topic, but I believe because our industry right now, we're entering into what I like to call a plateau, you know, which happens all the time. You know, we've had 5 or 6 years of consistent growth, double digits, you know, quarter over quarter over quarter.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen forever, but we always, as an industry, do this. Yeah. About every 5 or 6 years, we kind of plateau out, all right? Which really kind of forces us to take a look at our strategies. Hopefully we actually have the strategies in the first place, right? But it's like, what are we doing with that data, and how can we use that data to develop out better branding efforts?
Well, I have a question for you. Over the last 3 years, let's go back to 2015 until now, how have new car sales been in Canada? Have they been on the rise? Are they at an all-time high?
You know, we're always pretty much in sync with the U.S. I mean, obviously the volume's not there, but usually as a percentage, they're usually pretty darn close to each other year over year. So you guys are running in kind of this plateau type season, and we're running into the exact same thing, kind of a plateau type season.
So we've had a few years over 17 million.
Yes, and you guys just dipped this last year.
We dipped, and we're the forecasts are down for this year, but you could attribute a lot of that to hurricanes. Yeah. Because we've literally, I mean, what was Alicia? There were like 3 big hurricanes, 2-3 big hurricanes in the last 3 years that you could attribute towards huge car sales.
Yeah,
there were replacement sales. We weren't going to get to 17 million. There's no way in heck we were going to get to 17 million until those hurricanes hit. So right now we're forecasting about 16.4, 16.5, right? Let's see if there's a hurricane and it lifts it back up to 16.8 or 17. You know, it seems like it's an unusually strong market considering interest rates are high. There's like 7 or 8 million people who are 90 days late on their payments. You know, you just wonder, how this is continuing like it is. But the economy's healthy. People are still buying cars. My thing is they're probably buying cars beyond their means still.
Yep,
and
I agree.
The downturn is going to be in the next couple of years. Guarantee.
Oh, no. I totally agree. I think the next 2 to 3 years is going to be a really interesting time for us.
Yeah.
Which just proves the point even more why your dealership's brand is so damn important. Yeah. Because, like I said, we know organic efforts has like a 15 times better conversion rate than paid efforts. You know, it's just that brand. What's that story? The story can no longer be about product and price. We have to go beyond that story.
Yeah, it's definitely numbers driven. Branding is hard to track, but there's so many people out there pushing best practices. Like we're here at this Auto Rockstar meeting conference. And you're hearing a lot of the same stuff from some really smart people.
Yes. You
know, you've got to take care of your customer. I think, if anything, dealers are beginning to learn, and I don't want to get away from the importance of metrics, but I think they're beginning to learn that you've got to treat these people nice. And I think one of the things that's slaughtering, dealerships and it continues to hurt the industry from a reputational standpoint is just how they're treating the customers, and there's this is just another topic that we could go into either now or
100%.
later, would be the cultural divide.
Yes,
You know,
good topic.
Because there's so many different cultures out there, and does the person who speaks Spanish want to speak to an English, speaking individual? Do they feel more comfortable speaking Spanish? What about Chinese? Would they rather deal with a Chinese salesman? Would you close more Chinese sales if you had a Chinese salesman speaking Mandarin or Cantonese? To me, this is really where it's going in the next
Yes.
in the long range, looking down, forecasting over the next decade. We're getting off topic here a little bit, but I could foresee salesmen, instead of hiring a Korean salesman or a Chinese salesman, I could see dealer groups sharing salesmen to try to sell the specific demographic group that they have opportunities with.
It's funny you say that, and I'm glad we kind of got on that topic because I'm from Toronto.
Yeah, right.
It is a melting
Mishmash,
pot.
yeah.
I mean, holy cow. I mean, I have a dealership that can easily have 5 different targeted ethnic backgrounds and all the way from Mandarin to Portuguese to Italian, just literally all in the exact same.
Farsi,
Farsi, yeah,
Eastern thing.
all in the same space. And I actually have a dealer group that's literally talking about what you just said. They have 9 dealerships, kind of all within pretty close proximity of each other, but even with those proximity, there is such a huge difference in kind of the ethnic background of each one of those little pockets, and trying to be able to kind of move people around, deciding which salespeople should be at which location based on that. But I think at the end of the day, what the core of it is that we need to be doing it for our audience or for our customers, right? We got to understand who our audience is, understand who our customers are, and then make changes to that. And that's not just in our operations, but also in our marketing. And I think over the next 2-3 years, that's what a lot of people are going to have to be focusing on.
Oh, God, yeah. I could hardly wait to get back and do a blog on it. I'm really getting excited about it. There's a company over here who we just met today, and he addressed the concept of cross-cultural communications and sales and some of the handicaps that dealerships have addressing those needs, those concerns. So I'm looking forward to having that conversation. It's going to become a really big deal. And again, the dealers have to adapt to it. Right now, they're not. I mean, I've been in dealerships. I won't get into my wife happens to be Asian, and there was an individual who, I won't do my imitation of him, but he started bad talking another dealer that we had visited, and he said, "Oh, he's just jiving you, basically." He didn't say it like that. I know that guy. I trained him. I know exactly what he's doing for you. I know what his deals are. I know he's going to pull the rug from under you. I know. She got really upset with that, and she took her sweater off and threw it at the guy. Because he showed disrespect to somebody that she sort of appreciated, and that's sort of an extreme example. But I know that Chinese like to deal with Chinese, that English-speaking people like to speak, and this isn't certainly across the board, but it helps to be able to cross that cultural divide. Simple as that. So they got to figure out ways of doing that. So basically, what the bottom line here, we get smarter on the metrics, we get smarter on being people, and we survive. But it's a constant adaptation process. And some will succeed and some won't. Maybe we're going to have more ride sharing. I mean, if we really want to get into it, we start looking down the road, there's going to be ride sharing.
Well, that's actually was be my next question for you. You know, it's like, I think we're all in agreement right now that at this given moment in time, it is all about your audience. And better understanding your audience, utilizing your dealership's data, because there's tons of data there at the dealership's level, what you've already sold and who you've already sold to, but then also your website's data, also even the analytics you're collecting from your ads, engagement, and really deep diving and understanding who is looking, who is shopping, who is researching, and who's in that place to buy, and then we're creating content, creating processes for them. That's going to be a big part for the next 2-3 years. But my next question is what else? What other big changes do you see over the next 2 to 3 years that's going to affect our industry? I
would absolutely say if they continue to raise interest rates, I know they froze them, that would freeze out some new car sales. I think I think there's some real great opportunities for car dealers down the road, because the used cars that people are buying are going to start breaking down, and most people can't. Right now, our count is on average 2.5 used cars are sold for every new car.
Wow.
And that's for most of the dealers that we've
increased, because I don't know the data
it
on
went
that.
from 1.5 to 2.5, and it varies.
So that is a substantial increase then.
If it's a luxury brand, it's almost in reverse, maybe, but certainly with the more affordable vehicles, anything under, let's say, 55 grand or along those lines, we're looking at that. So that's going to continue. Those cars are going to continue to break down, and instead of sending that by having a bad service department, instead of sending those people to independent dealers, you know you're in, this is kind of a joke, but you know you're in trouble when the independent repair shop across the street, you see their technicians driving up in Lamborghinis, and you see your guys on your service lane doing nothing. You know you've got a problem. So I see a concerted effort in customer retention strategies. I see a concerted effort in being more transparent, not only in the sales, but also in the service department, because right now I would not go to my dealer. With my vehicle, I go to an independent guy that I trust.
Because you just don't feel that they have the transparency you're looking for.
It's definitely not there. Okay. I know that they're going to ream me, basically. I know I'm going to get raked over the coals. So there's going to be changes as far as that's concerned. But I could see a dealer actually at some point, some of the smaller ones perhaps, making a lot more money servicing vehicles and executing ROs than they will upfront selling vehicles. So I see that's where that's going. And if I look into the far distant future, I see subscription models for vehicles that will fill a gap of people who don't want to always have a car, have bad credit and can't really get one, and aren't willing to spend $550 on an Altima.
Sure.
Sorry for all of you Altima guys out there who are paying $500 or Camrys. There's a lot of you out there. They're going to get sick of that, and so I could see that new car sales will maybe in the United States, I would say from 10 years on, you'll see far less than 15 million sold.
I agree with you, and I think that's something that's definitely come in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So just recap, we're so far, we've talked about, really understanding your audience through data.
By the way, I like the pen you've got there. It matches your shoes and your tie.
Shoes. That's actually, by the way, what attracted me over to your booth.
Folks, there's some incredible synchronicity going on between myself and our Canadian neighbor.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But no, I mean, the importance of really understanding your audience, through the data, focusing on retention, because there's going to be a shift. I think we've gone to buy with what we have, just on more of what I call like a full belly syndrome. Like there's enough there for us to be happy about it, so we're not really necessarily worried about it.
Yeah.
And then transparency. Like those are the three big places that I think dealerships need to focus on over the next 3 years to really kind of be successful, and to keep their eyes and at least start having the conversation about what would a subscription model look like for them.
Yeah.
We're not saying it's going to happen like right now, but let's have the conversation, talk about what it would and what it could look like for your dealership.
And what does it mean to the auto insurance guys?
Yeah.
Is that going to put them out? Because I think that's going to change. I would have to think the premiums would be reduced substantially, and there would be more of a cost to the dealer on that one. There's one other thing out there that we didn't go over, and if we have time to do it, we may as well do it now.
Absolutely.
So on 3, 2, 1. There's a company out there called HireCar, HYRE. Brian Allen is leading the charge over there, and they have a phenomenal model that helps a dealer monetize sitting inventory. Okay. So they could have used cars that are in great shape or slow-moving new cars, and they put Lyft and Uber drivers into them.
Oh, yes, I've read about this. Really, really cool, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great model, and the car dealership picks up the insurance on it. It's not that expensive. Well, actually, it's included in the price of the rental.
Yeah.
So you really don't have to bring in any other employees. You just have your fleet manager handle it, and HireCar has the software. And once you get up to about 2,000 miles, they switch the guy out of the car, or they give that person the opportunity to buy the car.
Yeah.
So they're test driving it for 2,000 miles. They're paying, basically, it's almost like a pay to own if they want to go that far.
Yeah.
So that's a great model too. And there might be some other things that come up that we haven't even thought about. But to me, that seems pretty novel. And I know a few car dealerships down here in the States that are exercising it, and it seems to be working pretty well.
That's
so
really
we'll see where
exciting
that
stuff.
goes.
Yeah,
it's
very exciting
yeah.
to see what direction it is. Now, if a dealership would like to learn more about what we just talked about and more about what you guys do, where would they go?
First, I'd send a check for $5,000 to Kelly Kleinman, 955. No. Dealershipnews.com. We have all that fun stuff. We are an intellectual resource for car dealers and vendors. We have some really entertaining things up there. We have the Midday Report, which is Hudson Ford. Hudson, you here? I'm here. Hudson Ford's Dealership News Midday Report. Thanks, Hudson. So you can check it out. It's fun. If you,
I'm totally going
for
to.
those of you from Canada,
Yep.
I lifted that completely from CKLW, which was out of Windsor. It was a 50,000 watt blowtorch. CKLW, much more music. It was the Drake formula during when AM was I was going to use a derogatory term.
No, that's cool.
But it was the TNA of radio. And I lifted it from them. Anyway, a homage to our Canadian friends. Dealershipnews.com, Midday Report. We've got the national dealership standings, and then we've got a lot of this intel that we've been discussing. We have some great bloggers. Several of them are speaking here today, and we're blowing it up over there. So check us out and get a subscription and follow us on social media.
Awesome. Hey, Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time and jamming with me.
Yeah, thanks.
That was a blast.
Pleasure. Yeah, good times.
Thanks.